Well, good afternoon and welcome everyone. And thank you for participating in OSHA's Fall Winter Webinar Series Conference. Today's webinar is part two of our 6-part webinar series, De-stressing and Rewiring the Brain. I'm Lisa Johnson, the Vice President of Labor Relations at Bon Secours Mercy Health and a part of our OSHA Education Committee and President-elect. The webinar is intended to be very interactive. If you'd like to ask a question, please type it in the chat box, or you can unmute your line and ask. But we do ask and for everyone to mute your lines to reduce any type of background noise if you're not speaking. For continuing education credits, this webinar has been approved for 1 CHHR recertification credit hour, 1 CPHRM contact hour, 1 HRCI general recertification HR credit, and 1 SHRM credit hour. In order to receive your continuing education credits, you must complete the online evaluation. An email to the link to the evaluation will be sent to you following the webinar. It's with our honor that we get to introduce Scott Warrick. Scott has over 40 years of experience as a human resource professional and practicing employment attorney. He helps organizations get to where they want to go, which includes coaching and training managers and employees in his very unique, practical, entertaining, and humorous style. He solves employee problems before they start by combining the areas of law and human resources to help organizations in solving employee problems before they start. Scott's goal is not to win lawsuits, but instead his goal is to prevent them while improving the employee morale. Scott's motto is tell me what you want to do and I'll help you get there. And we actually appreciate that. Scott has a master's of labor and human resources from the Ohio State University. He was awarded the outstanding creativity in the field of human resource management at Capital University College of Law and was class valedictorian first out of 223. Now I'll turn it over to Scott, and thank you for joining us today.
Okay, thank you. Welcome, everybody. This is a 2-part session. We're going to talk about de-stressing and rewiring your brain. Last time we talked all about your culture and what a devastating that effect or a positive effect that can have on your brain. All right, so again, very interactive here. And so we got a nice cozy group. You can open your mic and talk at any time. Perfectly fine. If you want to turn on your camera, that's great. I'm going to be looking over here. That doesn't mean that I've got a better offer and there's something more fun I'm doing over here. It just means I'm looking at everybody. And we can always do a poll. So we can do a real good poll here. How many have found 2022 to be a stressful time? I got my thumb up there. Everybody can practice with their, there we go. Okay, I know you're out there now. Yeah, look at all the thumbs going up. Okay, and you can always chat me up. All right, so we're not so sure how far we're going to get in today's session, but whatever we don't cover, we will finish up in the next session, which is in January. So I went ahead and put the certification credit at the beginning. You're going to be getting that again. This is from SHRM. You're going to be getting that from Casey in your materials, but if you do want to write it down, there it is for you. 22 G4X72. All right, 22-G4X72. All right, and just a couple other notes here. I have finished with the free lunch and learns this year, but we're going to be picking them up again next year. There's no charge. We just try to make things better. And next year, we'll probably be focusing more on tolerance and brain issues and conflict resolution. So if you want to sign up for that, it's totally free. We just get together once a month on Zoom and enjoy it. And I want to thank everybody here. We launched the book, Healing the Human Brain, on December 1st. And a lot of you went out and got it on the 1st. And I cannot tell you how much I appreciate that. We actually hit international bestseller in over a dozen countries, in over 14 categories on Amazon. So thank you, thank you, thank you. All right. Having said that, I always love this. I was talking to someone this morning. It's like, well, what sort of tips do you have to managing stress? Now, isn't that just the way we do it, right? We think everything can be solved in a half-an-hour sitcom. Okay, if I just knew a couple of little tricks. No, it's like running a marathon. If you're going to run a marathon, then you've got to train for it. You got to get your brain and body ready for it. The time to run a marathon is not when you get up one day and say, I'm going to run a marathon. It's not going to go well. And if you wake up one day and you say, well, yeah, I'm just going to start handling my stress better today, it ain't going to work. There are things that you have to do. All right, now this brain right there, as you saw last time, that's my brain from 2008. That brain is not ready to handle stress. It is not ready. It's going to fall over like a house of cards and is going to explode. So we've got to get ourselves ready. That is my brain today. So much better. Very proud of that. Okay. So it's, and I had a conversation with someone this morning and they said, well, what can we do to help our employees with stress? And first and foremost, make sure that they know what they have to do. You know, you can't do this for somebody else. Okay, and we're going to talk a lot about all the different things that you have to do. It's not one thing. Okay, it's not one thing. And isn't that the way our society is today? I want to take a pill and I want to do this. If I do this one thing, what will do? Your body doesn't work like that. It never has and it never will. Now, the one thing that employers absolutely positively have to do is what we talked about last time, and we're going to talk about it in more detail in our last session with the Great Resignation. You got to create a safe environment. That means, I'll tell you, if you out there in Zoom land, if you have not done your harassment / bullying / tolerance / conflict resolution / brain health training, and they all fold in together. They all fold in together. If you are not creating an environment where it is safe to be different, it's safe to have your opinion on Trump, Biden, or whatever else. If you have an environment that's a bullying environment, your people are doomed. It's that simple. And quite frankly, I'll talk to employees. Well, my employer's like this and this. My advice to them is leave. Leave. Go someplace where you don't get beaten to death. And I'll tell you, I've done a lot of hospitals in the last 6 months because there are not enough nurses. There are not enough x-ray techs. And I'll tell you right now, if you want to even be in the game, you absolutely positively have to make sure that you're creating an environment where the culture is safe, and educate your people in bullying and harassment. Because let's recap a little bit from last time. A little bit of distress. And what am I saying with distress? Distress is when you are flooding your body with cortisol and adrenaline. And talking to a bunch of hospital folks here, your adrenal glands sit right on top of your kidneys. All right. So when you go into fight or flight, you flood with adrenaline and cortisol. Well, a little bit of adrenaline and cortisol is good. It's like this guy, this little kid drinking from the water fountain or drinking from the hose. It's good for him, but he's enjoying what he's doing. So he's releasing all kinds of eustress chemicals, which I'll tell you, I never want you to look at your body the same again, or stress. You will never get rid of stress. That's impossible. The only time you don't have stress is when you are dead. So a little something to look forward to. Okay. Now, this is like riding a roller coaster. You ride the roller coaster up and you're on there for 2 minutes, maybe 3 minutes. Okay. Now, here we go. How many people, let's take a quick little straw vote here. How many people love roller coasters? Just love them. I mean, oh, best things in the world, right? Oh, look at all the thumbs going up. Oh, yeah, it brings out the kid in us. So you're going to get this great roller coaster ride for 2 or 3 minutes. What if they kept you on there for 2 hours? Okay, can everybody throw up? All right, that's what's going to happen to you. It's going to make you sick. Here, see this little girl over here to the far right? That's what's happening to her. She is totally flooding with adrenaline and cortisol. So when I say distress, I want to make sure we're all on the same scientific chemical page. I'm talking about flooding your body with adrenaline and cortisol. And remember from last time, when your car won't start, when you lose your phone or your phone won't work, you release distress into your body. Absolutely. Flooding of adrenaline and cortisol. But when that distress comes from another human being, you release 3 times the amount of adrenaline and cortisol in your body. And 20 to 25% of all that cortisol and adrenaline is going to go right to your brain. So what do we want to do? It's chemical management. I want to get more and more and more eustress chemicals into your body. So what are eustress chemicals? Well, when you go to a Queen concert, when you go bowling, when you engage in your hobbies. So I want you to understand chemically in your body what is happening and why this gets your brain to rewire. I think if people understand, look, it's important for me to go for a walk, because when I go for a walk, I'm going to displace the distress chemicals with the eustress chemicals. They're going to help heal my body. And what are eustress chemicals? Oxytocin, the loving chemical. Dopamine for motivation. Serotonin directly combats depression. Endorphins, painkillers, stronger than morphine. And telomerase. Telomerase, which we're, look a little bit at, surrounds your DNA, your chromosomes, and keeps them from unraveling. What's that mean? It keeps you from aging. You don't get younger, or you don't get older. Actually, you get younger. So is everybody with me? So when we're talking about displacement of chemicals, this is what we're talking about. I want as many eustress chemicals as you can get in your body. Now, just a little refresher here. It is amazing to me how we treat our brain. Now, let me ask you, this is a very serious question. If you were having heart problems and you were going to a cardiologist and it wasn't getting any better, wouldn't you go get another opinion? I would. Give me a thumbs up or chat me up or open your mic. What do you think? Okay. Angela's saying, yep, she'd get that checked out. It's your heart. Your heart's important. Okay. How many folks know somebody that they've been dealing with a brain disorder? And we call those mental disorders. I don't like to call them that. I like to call them brain disorders because it's more of a physical function. How many people know somebody with a mental disorder that's been dealing with that for more than 5 years and it's just not getting better? Maybe like that. Yep, Diane's giving me a big hands up. Lisa, yeah. You see how we treat our brain? The brain, it's the most important organ you got. Your body is really nothing but a transport system for your brain. Now, your brain, we got to start taking care of it. Your brain is everything you do. It's involved in everything you do. It determines how you feel, how you think, how you interact. It determines who you are as a parent, friend, child, and human being. And I'll tell you, critical. You got to think of your brain as an energy glutton. Your brain only makes up about 2% of your body's weight, but it uses 20 to 30% of all the calories you burn. Now, when we start talking about diet, this is going to be really critical. Every bite of anything that you take, 20 to 30% is going to go right to your brain. And it's very fragile. It feels like soft room temperature butter. You really do have to take care of your brain like as if it was an infant. And your brain burns 20% of all the oxygen and blood flow. This is why breathing in toxic chemicals is so bad. I mean, I've seen scans of guys who paint cars. Their brains look like Swiss cheese. And I had a doctor tell me once, he says, oh yeah, that's toxic. That's why you never see any old painters. The fumes kill them. Okay, so in general, what's bad for your brain? Well, don't hit it. Brain injuries. I'll tell you right now, I run into more and more, since I started doing these sessions, people with concussions, whiplash from car accidents, all kinds of things. That's a serious big deal. Drugs and alcohol, obesity, Sleep apnea is a killer for the brain. Smoking, caffeine, diabetes, hypertension, toxins of all kinds, low levels of testosterone, thyroid, omega-3s, vitamin D. And you're going to see why we're going to talk about this with your physicals. A poor diet, lots of sugar, overstress, okay? A lot of stress puts you into depression. Lack of exercise, an unhealthy peer group. What are they? Those are the jackasses. Those are the jackasses we're talking about. Now, what's good for your brain? You got to protect it. Hang around positive people. Live in a clean environment so you're not breathing in bad things. Physical health, healthy weight, 8 hours of sleep a night. New learning, always learning something new is great for rewiring that brain. Great diet, exercise, stress management. You mean like meditation? Yeah. Multivitamin supplements. And I always get a big pushback from the doctors when I mention that. And that's when I always have a little bit too much fun and put them in their place. It would really be a good idea if doctors read the Journal of American Medical Association. That would just be great if they read that. Okay, now how do you rewire? I want you to understand what is happening in your brain, because then that helps you to do it. And think about it. As I'm talking to you right now, I am permanently rewiring your brain. Think about that. I will rewire your brain because of what we're talking about, and you will never be the same again. Every half-hour sitcom that you watch will rewire your brain somewhat. So how do we rewire? Okay, so these are little neurons in your brain. You see little senders and receivers, okay? So they're going to shoot that yellow goo. That's neurotransmitter. Oh, by the way, when you sleep at night, you refill the neurotransmitter in your brain. It's like gasoline, runs your brain. Okay, so sleep's a big deal. So you see, we're going to send that little electrical charge back and forth. Okay, so the reuptake is taking up the thought. That's really a thought. Electrical charge and neurotransmitter is a thought, and it shoots back and forth. Now you see that little gap in there? Isn't this amazing? There are literally trillions of connections in your brain, and none of them touch. They're not really connections. Those little gaps there, we call those synapses. And that's an engineering marvel, isn't it? Trillions of connections in there, but they don't really touch, and they shoot back and forth at lightning speed. Now, remember, your brain feels like soft room temperature butter. Now, look at the neuron on the far left. It looks like a hose, doesn't it? I mean, it's not really operating very efficiently because there's not a lot of flat surface. It's pretty narrow. So it's going to shoot this electrical charge and neurotransmitter back and forth a gazillion times. Well, that electrical charge into soft room temperature butter is going to cause your brain to melt. Yes, learning is melting your brain. Now you see how flat it's getting there? It's starting to flatten out. So what's that mean? It means it is getting more and more efficient. And then look what's happening at the top of that middle diagram. You're overloading the electrical circuit, overloading it. So you're growing a new sprout. You actually grow, we call it neurogenesis. You grow 100,000 new neurons in your brain every month. I mean, this is one of the things that has really outpaced old-time medicine. Well, you're born with all the neurons you're ever going to have. That is not true. You grow 100,000 new ones every month. And you see that little sprout coming off of the middle diagram? That's called synaptogenesis. You're going to grow new synapses. You're going to grow new sprouts. You can grow 100,000 new neurons from baby stem cells that are alive in your brain right now. And you can grow 10 to 100 synapses off of each one of those. You can grow 1 million connections a month. And you kind of see in the far right diagram, that's what's happening here, is you're growing all these little sprouts because you're using the brain. Okay. Now, this person that is growing new neurons, they're exercising, they're drinking half their weight in ounces in water every day, they're getting their sleep, they're filling their brain with eustress chemicals that's going to help those grow. Is everybody with me? If you sit around and complain about everything, hang around terrible people, drink too much, eat potato chips all day, don't get to bed till 2 or 3 in the morning, then get up and go to work at 7, none of this is going to happen. Because you're not going to foster an environment where these little seeds can grow. Okay, is everybody with me? So yeah, you need to think, how am I fostering my garden? How am I getting my brain cells to grow? Now, millions and millions and millions of time over, see that little dot right there? That's a thought. And I want you to think of rewiring your brain this way. Okay, when you do drive into work, and I see a lot of people are not necessarily at work, you're at home working. How many people you drive to work and you don't have a clue how you got there? Just automatic. I'm going to put my thumb up there. That used to happen to me all the time. Oh, yeah. Megan, Kara, Angela's, everybody showing me. Yeah. So we're Becky. There you go. 2 Beckys. There we go. Here's what's happening in your brain. Has anybody ever heard that it takes a month to form a habit? That's true. 22 to 30 days. Okay, so you do something once, get that little red dot. That's just a little connection there, but you do it again. 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 That is a rewiring of your brain, and we call that a habit. That is how your brain works. So after, 2 or 3 or 4 weeks of driving to this new location, like let's say you get transferred 10 miles north of your current location. The first day, you're going to have to think about what you're doing. You're going to have to really focus. You're actually going to have to stay awake and focus when you're driving your car. Imagine that. So, but after 3 or 4 weeks, you'll get in your car. This part of your brain will take over and off you go. Okay, that is what you want for rewiring your hotspots. And understand, all those hotspots that I had in my brain, the more eustress chemicals I get into my brain, they act like salve. Healing. If I kept flooding my brain with cortisol and adrenaline, they would just keep burning and it would just get worse until eventually, yes, you kill yourself. Or you go to the mall and you start shooting people randomly. Okay, now, is this starting to make sense as to why we're having all of the mass shootings today? You starting to see my point? In 2018, we had about 300 mass shootings. Today, we're already over 600. We're averaging almost 2 a day because our mental health, our brain health is going down the toilet. Okay, because people don't do what we're going to talk about in here. All right, so first and foremost, get your pens and pencils ready. We've got this for a handout for you. I want you to, take notes, but I want you to find 3 things off of this list that you're going to do. Don't start off with 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. No, because it's going to be too much. This is like, I'll never forget this. I started back to the gym several years ago, and there was a trainer there. He was going to help me. I was so sore the next day that I couldn't even walk. And I remember thinking, what an idiot. What a boob. Okay, this is probably somebody who got their trainer's license with a couple of box tops off of cereal boxes. No. You do 2 or 3 or 4 things. That's it. Then once those become habit, add something else. Okay, and we're going to look at a lot of stuff like getting as many jackasses out of your life as humanly possible. That is always number 1. That is always number 1. Okay, and then get your physical and blood fasting blood work. Positive thoughts, friends and pets, get those surrounding you. Take up some hobbies. Mine's photography. Yours might be something else. Yes, meditation is extremely healing for the brain. Adopt a whole new diet lifestyle. And we're going to get a lot of things in there that you like to eat that are good for you. Maintain a regimen of vitamin and mineral supplements. I actually take 2 packets of high dose vitamin and mineral packets every day. Oh, here's a big one. You got to drink half your weight in ounces every day in water. Get enough sleep, and you've got to adopt some sort of aerobic, strength training, and sex program. Yes, we're going to put sex in there. Sex, very healing for the brain, but let's control ourselves here. And get monthly massages. That's my program. You could come up with something different and things that get the eustress chemicals into your body. Okay, but rule number one, none of this is going to do any good if you've got some jackass who is beating you in the head every day. I'll tell you right now, hospitals, listen up. Because honestly, I've already done probably 4 or 5 hospitals, and this is the message that I've given all their staffing units, all their supervisors. If you do not have a safe environment where it's safe to be different, you are not going to be able to recruit. And I want you to see how I'm going to tie all of this stuff into our final session in January as to how to effectively recruit and retain people. Let me just tip my hand here. I had an x-ray tech. Actually, she was a contingent contract employee, went in, was making $90 an hour. And now think about this. She's making $90 an hour. That's pretty good. That's $180,000 a year straight time. Okay, so that's good. No benefits, but hey, when you're 24, 25 years old, who needs them? Now, freeze right there. Would you think that if we paid people $90 an hour, that we'd be able to retain them? What do you think? Maybe so? I mean, that's pretty good. You're topping the market. What if you treat them like dirt? Yes, Angela, I'm with you. Angela gives me a big yes. I would think so. But Angela, I'll bet you're not going to beat them with sticks, right? Oh, now, how do you think, give me some opinions here, how do you think the other employees on the shift, the other x-ray techs, treated the x-ray tech, the one making $90 an hour? Were they welcoming of her? Were they supportive of her? Or do they bully her because she's making 3 times as much? Terrible. There you go, Abby. There you go. And I just love this. It is just so bizarre. Not if they know how much they're making. Yeah. Other staff, not welcome, not part of the team, probably the manager too. Yeah, making a lot more than the manager. Yeah, and let me clue you in. She's an outsider. All this stuff is great. Now, Lisa gives us a very, very good Amanda. Not if they know how much they're making. I will tell you, I hope you are all aware that what we're talking about right here, this is where the unions will get you. Now, I just hate to mention the U word for a lot of folks, but I will tell you point blank, the unions are on the move. I'm doing legal update Thursday and Friday of this week, 6 hours of things that have happened in the world of employment law. And I'll tell you, we're going to spend at least an hour of that time talking about the National Labor Relations Board. National Labor Relations Act. The unions are on the move, and they've picked up their efforts by about 30%. They are winning. They're winning at Amazon. They're winning at Starbucks. You know why? Because Amazon and Starbucks treats their people like dirt. Period. They treat them terrible. It's not safe. Now, is it safe to come to work for you? The hospital's paying this nurse $90 an hour. The coworkers and everybody treated them like dirt. And when I sat down with the people running this site, I said, it's your fault. What are you doing to control your culture? Your lowest common denominators are running your culture. Now they all have to work overtime, so it's going to cost you more money. It's not safe to come to work here. And news spreads throughout the hospital community like wildfire, doesn't it? Everybody knows. The inmates take over the institution. Thank you, Amanda. Your culture is critical. And I've shown you this before. I'm not going to spend a lot of time, but this is what you got to know to have a good, safe culture. Emotional intelligence. Can you control your ego and emotion? And right away, you know that these other x-ray techs, they're emotional children. Yeah, you're treating this young woman making 3 times what you're making like dirt. Well, guess what? Now you get to work weekends. Now you get, because no one will come to work there. But if you can control yourself, second base is EPR. Those are those empathic listening, parroting, and rewards. Now think about it. I'm going to sit down. I'm going to try to address and resolve a conflict with you. And I'm going to make sure you know, if you disagree with me, that's okay. That's trust. If you don't have a trusting environment where it's safe to be different, you will have mental disorders. And my advice to people who work in those environments, you either change that environment or you go find another job, because now we have discovered in 2018 that massive amounts of cortisol and adrenaline causes Alzheimer's. So don't be whining when you're in your 60s, 70s, and 80s and you're losing your mind to Alzheimer's. Don't be whining, hey, I stuck it out. I stuck it out. No, you don't stick it out. You create a good environment. Everybody with me? That is what you can do for your employees on a day-to-day basis. Now, let's get off to the races here. So first thing, get the jackasses out of your life. Number 2, make sure you are doing your annual health check. It sounds so commonsensical, but so few people do it. Get your physical. Make sure that everything is where it's supposed to be. It's doing what it's supposed to be. Because remember, everything in your body is interactive. Something that hurts your foot is going to hurt your brain. Something in your intestines is going to hurt your brain. So make sure that everything is working the way it should. Your body, again, is nothing but a transport system for your brain. The brain is the only organ that really matters. Everything else is there to help support the brain. And get your fasting blood work. This is so critical. I do a lot of coaching of managers and supervisors. And the first thing I have them do, because if I'm going to coach them, that means something is going wrong. Well, it is amazing how many quote, quote, problem employees that I've run into that are hyperthyroid or hypothyroid or diabetic. All of those hormone imbalances cause behavior problems. Behavior problems. Okay. So fasting blood work, make sure you're looking to see where all your levels are. And sometimes your behavior is an easy fix. Make sure that your doctor, because this is not part of your standard fasting blood work. Make sure they're checking your vitamin D levels. If your vitamin D levels are low, a simple pill will bring them back up. And make sure they're checking your thyroid. Now, there's a couple things for your thyroxine. Okay, thyroxine is released into your system from your thyroid. And some of those thyroxine hormones are going to attach to your red blood cells. So they're going to float and attach to the blood cells. Some are your free floaters. They're floating around. Those are your reserves. Okay. So you could be using up all of your thyroxine in your body, low thyroid, but your free floaters are keeping you feeling good. But the truth of the matter is, you need to know what's happening with your thyroid. So ask your doctor, hey, I want to make sure I'm checking the total T4 or total thyroxine, and I want to test the free floaters, the free T3s or free thyroxine. Don't know exactly what you're talking about. I want to check them both. Because I'll tell you right now, if your hormones are out of balance, you are not going to act correctly. And here we are trying to rehab our brain. I'll tell you, it's amazing how many people I have caught that are premenopausal or menopausal, where your thyroid, where your testosterone drops. Testosterone boosts the blood flow to your brain. So you got to have that to have a healthy brain. All right, everybody with me? Okay. Now, this is a critical part. Thoughts, hobbies, and friends. Okay, now, let me ask you, is telecommuting good? You got to love this old lady. She's making the most out of COVID, isn't she? Anybody have an opinion on this? Let me ask a better question. How many folks, you've got people who want to telecommute all the time? All 5 days a week, all the time. I got people like that. Oh, Amanda, good. Nope. Wonderful. Yeah, people getting kind of tired. It's got a nice mix here. Some folks, yeah, I got people who do want that, people who don't want that. We are starting to discover that people who are isolated or lonely, that causes a lot of mental disorders. Now, when I say mental disorders, that means brain disorders. Why? It makes sense. You're not getting that nice flow of eustress chemicals. Now, if you work with a bunch of jackasses, yeah, it's probably better to telecommute, okay? That's probably a lot better for you. But honestly, we got to make sure that we're creating good environments. And it isn't just fuzzy feel-good stuff. I want to get those eustress chemicals into the body to overpower the distress chemicals. Okay, so no, I strongly advise my clients, people should not telecommute all the time. And if it can be once in a while, okay. But all the time is not healthy for you because you need those eustress chemicals. Now, this is a guy you gotta Google. This guy is great. Dr. Dean Ornish. A lot of my research comes from this guy. He's fantastic. Close and loving relationships prevent depression, anxiety, suicide, heart disease, infections, hypertension, and cancer. Now that sounds like fuzzy feel-good stuff. No. What he is really talking about is maximizing the eustress chemicals that flood throughout your system so that you can live a life like Betty White. Now think of Betty White. Okay, her brain was sharp as a tack right up until she died, just short of 100 years old. Okay, her body gave out on her. Well, your body's mechanical. Your body is gonna betray you. Everybody here, your body's going to turn on you one day. It's all going to happen to all of us. Your brain has a life expectancy. The neurons have a life expectancy of 120 years. Are we getting me? You should never lose your short-term memory, much less your long-term memory. Okay. And what he's talking about here is people who are smart enough to maximize those eustress chemicals are going to have a healthy brain. And I will tell you right now, that is the best medicine for your heart. Distress, chronic ongoing distress, is actually worse for your heart than smoking. Okay. Smoking has a mortality factor of 1.6, which means if you smoke, you've increased your chance of premature death by actually 60%. That's bad. If you are in a chronic, ongoing, toxic relationship, that has a life expectancy of 2, shortens your life expectancy by, or your chance of premature death is shortened by 1, not 60%, but 100%. That's the chance of premature death. It's 40% worse than smoking. Why? Because your high blood pressure is going to send your red blood platelets through your circulatory system, not at a nice calm 35 miles an hour, but more like 75. And the adrenaline that you release is going to make those red blood platelets sticky. So they come crashing into your blood vessels and give you arterial sclerosis. And this is just rich, because I sat next to a guy on a plane once, and he's in a medical supply business. He works for a medical supply company. They sell replacement heart valves. And I said, so you've seen these heart valves? I asked him, I said, you've seen these heart valves and what stress can do to them? He goes, oh yeah. He said, those babies come flying in there into your heart and they crash right into those valves and they destroy them. Worse than smoking. Okay, I don't want you to think of this as fuzzy feel-good stuff. And I'll tell you, the proof is in the pudding. There's one study where veterans went in and cared for other veterans, coming back from the war. They cut their depression and anxiety way down. And not just, oh, they feel better. Yeah, they feel better because they're getting these eustress chemicals into their brain, and it's like a healing salve. It's helping to heal them, and they're growing more neurons in there to replace the bad ones. Okay, so yeah, taking time out with family, going and doing things that you like to do, that's good for your brain, and it's good for your body. Now, does that look chill? I'll tell you, I don't know how you could be depressed in a hot tub or on a jet ski. You know, if you just bought jet skis for everybody who's depressed, maybe they'll feel better. Okay. Now, let me ask you, how many people have pets? Yeah, good reaction. I got pets. Anybody else have pets out there? Yeah, getting lots of hands out there. Okay, a lot of hands for, yep, cats, dogs. Okay, got any dog lovers out there? Any dog lovers? Yeah, everybody loves dogs. How about cats? Actually, let's ask a better question. How many people hate cats? Got any cat haters out there? Yeah, I mean, it's kind of funny. You never hear anybody say they hate dogs, you know, because you understand, you know, like right there, that's Harry, my cat. He was my co-author for several years. He's passed away. Cats just look at you. They don't have any eyebrows. Dogs have eyebrows. You know, look at you and they'll understand everything you're saying. They'll move their eyebrows, so they're sort of anamorphic. All right. Cats just look at you and they got all that stuff coming out of their face. Okay. Well, does this look pretty chill? Okay. Cats and dogs are expensive. Vet bills, food. Did anybody ever get a free dog or cat? That's always a good one. It's free. Nope, not free. Wait till you start buying everything, right? Well, Harry passed away, and so we got Henry. He's a little Siamese. That's what Siamese look like when they're just little, where they color up. He'd just sit there on my shoulder and help me write. Or then he would go and take a nap in my hat. Yeah, had to throw the hat away. Cats destroy your clothes, by the way. All right. And then we have 2 dogs and 3 cats. And there's Sophie. Okay. Now, this is what distress looks like. Okay. That's eustress. Henry is playing with her tail. Okay. All right. And grown up, there's all 3 of the cats in the window. That's Dexter, Henry in the middle, and Albus, the other Siamese. Okay. You feel your blood pressure going down? Sort of a calming effect. That's what dogs and pets and cats do for you. Okay, that's what they do for you. So is it worth having dogs and cats? Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's a nice combination because you can take a dog outside and play. Great exercise. I got a guy on my street takes his cat for a walk. That always just amazes me. You know, if I tried that with one of my cats, they wouldn't walk. I would just have to take them for a drag. And I'm sure PETA would show up at my house and they'd be all mad at me, you know, something like that. Okay. Very good thing to have on your list there. But you got to get out with them. You got to spend time with them. Freud, who is a cocaine addicted mess, all right, did say one thing that was pretty cool. There's always time for a cat. There's always time for a cat. Yeah, she might have just gotten groomed. That's Sophie on the far left. She was a rescue Akita. Yeah, I think they just got done. Yeah, they've got their bandanas on. They just got groomed. So the groomer puts little bandanas on them, puts little bows in their hair, or what room they got there, and paints their nails. Yeah, I'd miss that. Yeah, my dogs like their spa days. Okay. But I can tell you, they smell really good. Now these 2 have passed away and we've moved on to another dog. But I'll tell you, we've always got to have dogs and cats or something in our lives. They work for us. So maybe that doesn't work for you, but something else. Humor. If they could take the eustress chemicals that you release in your body when you laugh, it would need FDA approval. It's that critical. Now, common sense has always told us this. Abraham Lincoln, when he was running for president for re-election in 1864, was sitting down reading a joke book. Highly stressful. It was a close race. Actually, nobody projected that he was going to win. And actually, he was going to be replaced by George McClellan, who was the general Lincoln fired twice. And so he's sitting there reading a joke book. Now, think about it. Everybody else is like, well, he doesn't care about this. He doesn't really care about the election. Okay, now from what we've been talking about, reading that joke book, why is that joke book, and I'll give you my thumbs up here, why is that joke book a really good idea? Does anybody have an idea? Want to chat me up or open your mic? What have we learned so far as to why that's a really good idea? It's not that he doesn't care. It keeps his stress level down while waiting for the results. Yes, reducing the stress of the election. And yeah, we're all on the same page here because everybody knows you're saying he's reducing the adrenaline and cortisol by replacing it with oxytocin, dopamine, serotonin, endorphins, telomerase, all those really great chemicals coming. Yeah, eustress instead of distress. You kind of see when you think of distress as chemical management, it makes sense. Because eustress chemicals, you're going to love this. Eustress chemicals will overpower distress chemicals. But you kind of see over time how you keep doing this and doing this and doing this, and how your body keeps getting replenished with these eustress chemicals, and you start healing your brain. You'll be able to handle distress much better in 6 months to a year than what maybe you could right now, or what I could in 2008. All right. So I advise everybody to keep a file handy of just fun things. Things that, and I have people that will send me all kinds of wonderful things. Actually, the upper left corner there, that is my driver's license that I had for a while till it expired, and they would not let me renew it. And in case you're wondering why you're not allowed to make that face anymore, well, that's why right there. I was doing training actually for the Ohio Department of Public Safety. You know, the highway patrol and the, you know, all those other folks out there for your public safety and everything like this, highway public safety. And we were talking about creating a fun environment because they had problems with morale or something like this. And I asked him, I said, hey, do you want me to show you my license? And I asked the HR, is it okay to show this? Because this got me out of a ticket in Muscle Shoals, Alabama. I was driving in Alabama. And if anybody's ever been to Alabama, you know that there are no cities. Really, there are no cities in Alabama. It's all rural. So I'd fly into, you know, the airport in this little propeller job, and I'm driving for an hour up into northern Alabama, and I get caught in one of the Alabama speed traps. You know, it goes from 70 miles an hour down to 25, then back up to 70 again. And so they get you in that little place right there. Well, I handed this to the patrolman, Alabama patrolman, and he let me go. He said, oh, he said, and it took a while. He took it back to the car, and he said, yeah, you know, he said, we've decided that this is the funniest license we've ever seen. So you just go right on ahead and just be careful. Now, I thought it was funny. I discovered that Ohio Department of Public Safety does not have any sense of humor at all. No, they have no sense of humor whatsoever. So I've never been back. But anyway, it was still fun, whatever. I'll tell you, I listened to Sirius Radio. One of the first things I did when I got my car back in 2012, I made sure it had satellite radio, and I got Sirius Radio. And first thing I did in 2012 was I programmed all the comedy stations in, all of them. And I'll tell you, when I'm driving, and I do a lot of driving, I will put in a comedy station and listen to it. Okay, why? Because it's good for you. It's very good for your brain. Okay, it makes you feel better. And it's just a good thing to keep in your desk, to remember to replenish your brain. Is everybody with me? Okay, because we're going to talk about our diets next, which is going to be really, really touchy, but I think extremely critical. Okay, now remember, every bite of food you take, about 25% goes to your brain. And let me point out something about your brain. There's fat in your brain, but the fat is the myelin sheath that covers your nerve endings. It's not like deposits of fat that we have, you know, around the rest of our body. Okay, so if we go a day or two without eating, we're going to live, we'll be fine. You're not going to be comfortable, but you're going to be fine because your body will use the fat reserves, the fat stores on your body. Your brain has no fat deposits to draw upon, so it will immediately burn whatever you eat. Whatever you eat will be burned by your brain immediately. Yeah, now think about this. let's say that we're all together and we bring in Krispy Kreme donuts. Everybody, you all get a dozen Krispy Kreme donuts. And just to make sure that it's, you're having a good time, you get a dozen Krispy Kreme donuts, and we're going to give you a big liter of Mountain Dew to wash it down with. Okay, everybody with me? Okay, in about 2 or 3 minutes, how are you going to feel? You feel good? How many people think you're going to feel like crap? Yeah, that's a good hand raiser thing. Yeah, crap. Yeah, Amanda's going for the bad feeling. Absolutely. I'll put my hand up here. You're going to feel like crap. You're going to feel terrible because 25% of that went to your brain. I mean, so you really got to think, do I want to send this to my brain? Now, if you want a great example as to how lethal food is, watch the movie Super Size Me. Has anybody ever seen that documentary? I've seen it several times. Anybody else seen it? Yeah, I'm getting lots of raised hands here. Very good. Yeah. Now, if you haven't seen it, this is worth watching. Okay. Malcolm Spurlock, that's him. He did this documentary, Academy Award nominee. He did this documentary that he was going to eat McDonald's 3 times a day for 30 days. Okay, 3 times a day for 30 days. And if they said supersize me, he would. So extra 30 cents and you get it supersized. Okay. He went and he got his physical and his doctor said, well, this is a really bad idea. I mean, you're going to put on weight. You're not going to feel as good, but it's not going to kill you. I mean, people smoke for years. It hadn't killed them. Except McDonald's is not food. It's fat and sugar. Okay, so what happened to him? He gained 24 pounds. Everybody with me? 24 pounds in 30 days. He started having heart palpitations. His liver started to fail. They thought he was going to need a liver transplant. Now, think about this. Why would his liver start to fail? Because he's eating so much sugar and fat, and your liver is a detoxifying organ. Everything goes through your liver. Well, you're shoving it full of fat and sugar. You're clogging it up. They thought he was going to need a liver transplant. Now, freeze right here. Depression. Makes you wonder, why was he depressed? Because 25-ish% of all of that went to his brain. 25% of the greasy fries and everything else. Honest to God, this is suicide. He had mood swings. Okay, kind of see the chemical imbalances in his brain? It's getting all messed up. Oh, and of course, he was sexually dysfunctional. Hey, there's mood swings and liver failure and heart attacks, but hey, don't go there. He consumed about 30 pounds of sugar. Okay. And he made it through, but I'll tell you, his doctors at day 22 told him, you got to get off this diet. You got to get off this diet. This is killing you. I mean, we've seen people smoke for 30 years, but we've never seen anybody have this type of reaction to food. Well, it just proves the point, though, that if you did eat this all the time, it's not food. And it just amazes me. My wife is an X-ray tech, and she's been an X-ray tech for 32 years. And it is just amazing. Parents will come in and they'll tell their kids, hey, if you do a good job and you sit still, we'll go to McDonald's afterwards. Oh my God. Why don't you just kick the kid right in the groin? Okay, that would be so much kinder. Okay. And honestly, there's a lot of great things you can give kids to eat that isn't poison. McDonald's is not food. It is not food. Now, take the problem here. 25% of Americans eat fast food every day. Every day. It's an addiction. In 1972, we spent $3 billion a year on fast food. Today, we're over $110 billion. Pet peeve, Happy Meals. What's wrong with that message? Oh, yeah. So, and I always love this because you'll hear back, well, it tastes really good. Yeah. Fat and sugar taste good. Yeah. That Abby facts, right. I'll tell you, 1 in every 3 children born in the year 2000 is projected to develop diabetes in their lifetime. So if you want to check out before you go and start eating this stuff, know what you are eating, because there are some good things. And I understand people on the road. I'm on the road all the time, but I carry my Quest nutrition bars and different things like that. I carry these things with me. But go to fastfoodnutrition.org and you can find some stuff on these various menus that might not kill you. And understand, it's just going to make you feel terrible. And if you really want to have a healthy brain, and particularly if you want to repair your brain, you got to steer clear of this stuff. All right. Like, I'll tell you, when I'm on the road, this is Michael and I caught him mid-chew on the way to Chicago. We're getting him ready to go to get his master's up at Roosevelt University in Chicago. Okay. Well, you stop at Panera. There's all kinds of places to stop. You don't have to stop at a Greasy Spoon. Here we got a great comment. I get laughed at because my daughter is 3 and just had her first McDonald's, only because we were on the road Thanksgiving night and nothing else was open. I wish they weren't either. Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. Once in a while, it's not going to hurt you. I mean, that's fine. Okay. Because there's nothing else. You got to get something to eat. You're starving. That's why in my briefcase, I always carry my Atkins bars. I carry my Quest bars or, protein drinks. But I usually have pretty good luck with Paneras, and that's where we'll stop. And there's a lot of places where you can go where the food is good and it tastes good. And so that's what we're going to tackle next time. What should we be eating? And I'll tell you, it's like, okay, so I got to eat, nuts and barks and twigs and grass for the rest of my life. No, there are a lot of fantastic things like berries, whole meats, a lot of really great things that you could be eating that isn't full of all this fat and sugar. Okay, a lot of good things. Okay, so we're going to break for today. Questions, comments, deep religious concerns over anything we talked about? Everybody got her? Okay, well, we will see you in January. We're going to pick back up with this one and finish. Oh, thank you, Angela. Really love doing this. Give us all some good things to think about. And let me turn this back over to Lisa. They're all yours.
Thank you, Scott. Now everyone is wondering what they're going to eat for lunch following. But I just wanted to tell everyone thank you for attending. Look forward to seeing everyone next month whenever we're able to do our next series. And I will transition over to Casey to remind us of our evaluation.
Thank you, Scott, and thank you, Lisa. What a great conversation. And yes, I've got to start changing my diet because I do a lot of sugar. So thank you very much for that, Scott. I really appreciate it. This afternoon, you will be receiving an email from me with a link to the evaluation to go out and fill out the evaluation. And that's part of the process on how you can get your CEs. So thank you for everybody. And our next webinar is in January. So Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Thanks, everybody.